Welcome to the island where our special guest has found themselves stranded following yet another accident with 3 to 4 other fellow survivors. Is this the Bermuda Triangle? Is it a waypoint that all through flows and currents lead to? We just don't know. What we do know is it's an island of plentiful supplies of naturally sourced fruit and clean drinkable water, and there are plenty of resources to make shelter and other things to like. Surviving here should be a doddle, but more importantly, a backpack came with our esteemed guest, and within it are 3 very special board games to keep everyone entertained. So without further ado, let's get to know our survivor. Hi Iain of Everybody Dice, how are you?
Hello, Steve of Everybody Dice. I am good, thank you. How are you?
I'm so much better for being
Actually,
here, like...
Depending on whether I've crashed on the same island as Daryl will depend on how good I am.
I don't know, I kind of feel like this island is a place where people are perpetually getting washed up on, and there's I won't say a regular pickup of people getting stranded on here. Yeah, perhaps so. Yeah, like
polar bears.
You're going to be trapped here. You're going to be trapped here for a little while, I think.
Okay.
But I suppose people eventually get picked up. Basically on a 2-week interval, I suppose.
It's just a 2-week holiday.
Or however long it is between each one of these videos. That's how long someone's been crashed on this.
The lifeguards just rock past every couple of weeks, just on patrol, just like probably someone's fallen there again. If we leave them there too long, the polar bear gets out and...
At no point do they think, whenever there's a plane crash or a boat gets sinked across the ocean, they never think, let's check that island first where everyone seems to end up. They just kind of, they leave it for a little while.
They just go, they're on the island again. And everyone's like,
I suppose we'll check it.
Just have known.
Oh god, yeah, that place again, causing us all kinds of trouble. Anyway, moving on to our situation, I suppose the first thing we always ask our guest is, how did you first start with modern board gaming? Like, where did it really all start off for you?
It's interesting because I'm predominantly a miniatures war gamer and RPG player, so I would say that it probably started when I first walked past a Games Workshop and was enticed in by all the pretty colourful armoured soldiers that hot dog water drinking nerds were moving around the table. And I think I went in there with my dad and I bought my first Warhammer models. And I would be lying if I could tell you exactly what they were. I feel like they were Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
I think I had been gifted some Space Marines from a very early age and had no interest whatsoever. And I think they ended up getting mixed into my Lego box. But I think, and they started doing Lord of the Rings stuff. I think I got Aragorn. I think I got the Fellowship. I think that was my first foray, and I quite quickly dropped Lord of the Rings and went to 40k. But in terms of actual board games, I think probably didn't play them seriously until I met yourself.
Yeah.
I don't have a calling urge to specifically seek out new board games and try them. I think I get a lot of my joy out of the creative aspect of painting miniatures or making characters for RPGs and things like that. While I love playing board games, I'm not as intrinsically linked to it as perhaps you and Daryl are. So I do enjoy them and I do play them, and in the last few years of my life I do seek out board games that I'd enjoy, but I'm predominantly a miniatures and RPG guy.
Yeah, I mean, on the video before this one, when I was talking to Daryl, I think this kind of applied to you as well. I tend to find that although a lot of the people that I know tend to say, I started getting into modern board gaming when I came to your place and started doing the game nights and stuff like that. A lot of people still, though, have usually played something like Pandemic or something like that, and I think you played like one or two before, I think.
Yeah, I've definitely played Pandemic from you. Sure, I've played some. There's probably something else like Settlers of Catan, Carcassonne. I probably played before I met you, and it's sort of just in the background of the memory, and it's something I played and enjoyed, but it is what it is. I think I played Super Fight before I met you as well, and Fun Employed are two games that I probably played before I started getting involved playing board games with you more regularly. They're good games. That's just, I think the games I did play were introduced to me by friends rather than me seeking them out, though.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I think we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this. Let's start off with your first selection of board game that you've brought with you onto this island.
You didn't tell me there'd be meat and potatoes on this island.
Well,
I'm delighted.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the means to survive here. I imagine there'd probably be wildlife of some sort on there.
I thought I was just going to be eating fruit. Now that you brought meat and potatoes into the mix, I don't see a reason to leave.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I imagine there's probably wildlife on the island as well. I think I kind of like the fruit was like the bare essentials and kind of things. You've got what you need to survive. There's obviously more here, should you venture further into the island, I suppose.
Good to know.
Yeah. I mean, you tend to find tropical locations tend to not be so plentiful of potatoes, but hey, like, why not?
Someone brought some potatoes with them. We planted them.
Yeah, we've had it before. Like I say, this isn't the first time someone's washed up on this island, so there we go.
Just a little note, like, you're here for about 2 weeks until the lifeguard remembers you. Here's some potatoes. Hope for the best.
Brilliant. Anyway, your first board game choice, please.
I would bring a D&D rulebook.
Ooh, okay.
Probably 5th edition, just because it's good. I guess I'd have it in a bundle, the player's guide, all that stuff. And I would hope to crash with someone willing to DM, or I'd have to do it myself. But yeah, I would. I feel like it's such a large source for so many different things. It's so varied. It's fairly creative. Everyone can get involved. There's a different choice for everyone. It's easily changed. So, although I wouldn't have it to hand, I don't think it would be hard to change the 5th edition format to something that isn't D&D. I could cut out some of the spells and things like that and make it Lord of the Rings, or I could write up some sets of like sci-fi weapons and make it Star Wars or something like that. I don't think it'd be hard to do. You'd
certainly have the time to do it as well.
Exactly.
So that shouldn't be an issue. One of the things I did limit Daryl with when he arrived on the island was he brought the Arkham Horror card game with him. And I said, you could probably bring a cycle with you. So I would probably say, like you said, bring the D&D starter set with you, the one which basically has a bit of everything. It has a bit of player creation, and it has kind of like a beginner set of rules in it, and then you get a few odd little bits like maps and things like that, and I think you get a limited monster manual as well. What would you say if I gave you one D&D book to bring with it to really enhance the experience? Which one would you say it would be?
Oh, that's hard, because obviously the player's handbook has character creation stuff. The monster manual is fun to read anyway. The base rules are in the starter set, aren't they? So that's not.
Yeah, you get kind of like a real kind of light kind of gaming experience, but it's enough to get you through multiple stories if you really wanted to.
I feel like I could write the stat lines for monsters, and despite wanting to read the monster manual again and again, I think I'd bring the player book, just because that way I know the player's characters are going to be balanced.
Yeah. To be honest, I really thought that was the book you'd probably go for, to be honest. I mean, you've immediately picked something that you've got unlimited possibilities with, really, on this island. Like, it's not something that you're going to play again and again and again and get bored of, basically.
No, it's a completely different story each time. You're playing a different character with different, let's say, rules and parameters each time. It's an endless sort of melody of like weird stuff you can do, and I don't, unless you're completely unwilling to play it and you're being stubborn, you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, I would say it also very much depends on the DM as well. Like, you need someone that wants to be the DM, that's going to be creative with it and not screw over their players, I suppose, as well. But
I think under the circumstances, I don't know these other people. I
No.
would probably have to be the DM.
right. I mean, do you get the same enjoyment out of being the DM as a player character, or would you really?
I haven't done it that much. I've done it a couple of times. When I did DM, I did it for a Warhammer 40k RPG, which I sort of know the lore very, very well, or at least I did at that point. I guess with D&D, I'd have to sit down and sort of write more into the history and the world, but I don't think I'd have a problem doing that. I think I'd quite enjoy that.
Do you feel like you'd probably enjoy it more if you're creating the elements around the world rather than, say, taking elements out of a book?
Possibly. I think when I know a world already, so like for example Star Wars and Warhammer are great examples of that worlds I know fairly well inside now. I think there's always that part of my brain that's like, oh, I'd really like to play this. Oh, that'd be cool to play a Wookiee. Or like you know, like your brain clicks into gear about stuff that fits into the world and what you'd want to play. But I feel like if you're making the world, you maybe don't have that same connection of knowing exactly what you want to play, but what you can make for the characters to play around with.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I would say your first choice there. That's gonna. I almost feel like you could survive just off that one thing. I suppose it's got that much potential in terms of creating new experiences from
attempting to metagame this. Yeah,
that's fair enough. So, your first pick is D&D 5th edition. Let's take a little bit of a break now, as I actually will broach the subject you brought up earlier of not really being as much of a board gamer as you are a war gamer and an RPG player. What is it you actually prefer about them?
I think it's the creative aspect. Something about sitting down, painting a model, having it finished. It's not. There's an element to the wargaming side that is very tactical. Something which I feel like I'm good at, but probably bad at.
Okay.
It's like those people who you go down the park and they're like really good at football in front of their friends, and like you just think, wow, Bernard is really good at football. He can probably play football professionally. But Bernard's great. Like Bernard runs rings around that guy. Like that's ridiculous. And then, like if Bernard joined a football team, he'd have a 6'4" toothless defender beat the crap out of him, and it's just like, oh, poor Bernard. I don't think I could compete at tournament level.
Right.
It does help that the people that I play miniatures games with are Daryl. And people who perhaps like I have more success in miniatures games because of the sort of people I play with.
Right.
And I think Daryl would agree that perhaps I am slightly more experienced than him in it and tend to make better decisions. But I don't think even that's the part that I enjoy. I think it's the build up to that is when you place that army on a field. It's an army of things you've painted, that you've made, that you've personalised, perhaps made stories for, perhaps named. The moment when someone aims a las cannon at your favourite guy blows him away is always painful, especially if he's really well painted. It's a thing.
You've taken some
Warhammer.
flair away from this battlefield. Like,
Yeah.
how dare you?
Whenever you paint something really well and you play it on the field for the first time and it looks really good, there's always that part of you that's like, that's going to get shot first.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I will say as well, because I've played a couple of wargame-y kind of things against you as well. I think out of all of us, you're the person that really looks at what you have and knows how to use them together. Like, you've obviously put a lot of thought into how you would use your units, whereas the rest of us are like, this is a really cool model, I just want to use this and I just want to go nuts with them. Like,
yeah, I tend to make my armies based on a theme, not necessarily a tactical theme, but like something I like the idea of. Like, the Warhammer does it naturally. Like, you can have like in an army, and it's like you can say a Black Templar Crusade, and everyone's got Crusade icons and chainsaws, and everyone's a bit of a religious fanatic. There's lots of flamethrowers, all is well. Legion does it less well because you're taking snow troopers and you're taking desert troopers and shore troopers or whatever, like, and mix them all together. But I like my armies and my things to have a theme. Like when I play X-Wing, I'll tend to play multiples of the same ship in a squad, rather than, I'll take one Millennium Falcon, one X-Wing, and like in my head, like, you just go, yeah, that's the most efficient way to play. Yeah. I'd rather have my own headcanon and go, yeah, this is a squad, and that's, I don't know, red 1, that's red 2, and that's red 3, and they're on patrol. There's a story to it.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, I'm probably more familiar with what, when I've made that squad, I familiarise myself inside now what they're capable of.
I mean, it's something that certainly board gaming doesn't really offer anywhere near as much. Is like you often find you get the odd game where you get to quickly build something that may have a theme behind it, but it's very much limited usually to deck building or something like that. You're not really say drafting pieces necessarily into this army that you're kind of creating and building a theme around it. It's a lot more difficult to that, and also it's with the knowledge that at the end of this game it's gone as well, and then you're building it from scratch again in the next game.
I think that's something I've sort of forgotten about as well, because it's something I've moved away from in recent years. But I was a very avid tabletop, like a collectible card game player as well. I used to play a lot of Pokemon TCG. I did play quite a bit of Magic very early on. I sort of dabbled in like Yu-Gi-Oh and things like that. So like, I have had lots of card games as well, and I used to perhaps use the same thought process and this has to be themed.
Yeah.
Like if I make a Pokemon deck, I always used to do it from a sense of, I'm a Pokemon trainer that uses only this type of Pokemon, or something like that. Yeah. Or like, I'd like to make it themed in a way. Same with Magic. I think I had an artifact. I made an artifact deck, basically after playing one of my friends' decks and being like, wow, that's cool. Just made a deck and it was only artifacts allowed in it. I think it was just fun to make a sort of themed deck, and I think that's why I didn't get along with Keyforge, because you can't build your own, make your own story and customize and theme your deck. It's kind of all the cards get loaded into a shotgun and scattergunned at your face, and you have to hope that they work / they make sense to you, and they never did to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely one of those things with Keyforge where I feel like it's certainly aimed at people that don't like making their own deck. You know, it's something that has a built-in purpose when you receive it, and it's more about learning what it does and basically maximizing your deck. Not every deck is equal as well, so you could end up with absolute crap. You really could. I mean, it's not to say, like I said earlier, it's not to say that elements of building your own thing isn't in board gaming. It's just that persistent thing isn't there. That thing of, okay, I've seen what this does, I'm going to take it away, I'm going to adjust it a bit, and I'm going to send it out again and see how it does this time. You don't get that with board gaming, really. It's something you really only get with miniatures gaming and stuff like that. It's funny though, because I feel like in terms of comparing board gaming to RPGs though, I feel like that is one area where board gaming is catching up a bit, where you're seeing games like Gloomhaven and stuff like that, where admittedly it still doesn't give you the same level of customization and control over the adventure, but you're starting to get these long narrative style games now.
Yeah.
So there's certainly, I feel like it's never going to catch up to RPGs, but they're at least offering something.
It's a different format. RPGs is its own format. If it didn't do something different, it wouldn't be something different.
Exactly.
There's always going to be. I think board games as a whole tends to be a more encompassing term, and it lends versatility to that term. A board game could cover anything from Scrabble, which is fairly not like word based, and to, let's say, Mega City Oceania, which is like a dexterity game almost, where you're balancing things but also you're sort of thinking about placement. I mean, there's similar elements in those two games, but then you could go, oh yeah, because it's both about placing tiles and things like that, and then you could go something completely different, like Zaya or something like that, and it's that there's so much versatility in set board games, and they have one big overarching thing, and I don't think RPGs necessarily fit into that. I'd say they can be tabletop, they're not board games. Same with like miniatures games and stuff. You can have board games that are miniatures games, but generally, do you see? I'm just babbling at this point, but like board games are super versatile, but when they do pick up the elements of other games, they never hit the depth of those other games.
100%, yeah.
But those other games can't be as versatile as a board game. They can't. They have to be redesigned in a way that sort of adds the other sort of playing mechanics to make it a board game. So I think Blackstone Fortress is a great game, and it captures the miniatures elements of 40k and some of the stats and a lot of the lore and stuff like that. But it's an individual box game, and it was done so to encompass a bunch of different mechanics, which you can't just shoehorn into normal 40k or Kill Team or whatever. Yeah,
100%. Anyway, shall we move on to your second board game choice, please?
Yes. I think it's a fairly obvious one for me.
Okay.
And it's going to involve me forcing other players to play it with me, and the hope. I'm curious to see what you're going to allow me to have with me, but it's going to be X-Wing.
Okay. So
I've gone from one of the most versatile games I've ever played to possibly the most focused.
So the rules that I've put in place here is you can have the starter set, and then you can choose one other purchasable item to bring with you. So I know, like, for example, with X-Wing, you do have certain packs where you get multiple ships and stuff like that. So, yeah, it might give you an opportunity to talk about the pros and cons of each different box set, I suppose. So, yeah,
sure. I mean,
you've got the starter set. So you need the base rules.
You'd want to add something different. So you've got your starter set, you've got a single X-Wing, and you've got 2 TIE fighters, which doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room.
No.
I feel like I would get a Scum and Villainy set that can be a bit more versatile. So pretty sure there's one with a Y-Wing.
Okay.
There's a Scum and Villainy set with a Y-Wing in, which means you could use that for your rebels. I can't think what other ships are in that Scum. I think it's Headhunters.
Okay.
So you can play Scum and Villainy, you can play Rebels, or you can play Imperial. Then you've got 3 factions you can play as. It might not be super balanced, but it is what it is. Like at the end of the day, I'm taking this with me because I'm an enormous child and I like going. Like it's.
This is your physical entertainment, basically.
This is me being an enormous child, having the absolute unstoppable need to fiddle with a miniature.
It's interesting. It's actually interesting because your 2 picks so far. One is almost 100% in players' imagination, and this one is kind of toys in a box, pretty much.
I think that sums me up. Like, I have all my like Star Wars miniatures and stuff lying around on display and things like that. From here, I can see a squadron of B wings, a squadron of X wings, a squadron of Y wings, some A wings, a U wing, a CR-75 Corvette, and like I've got all my Rebels over there, and I've got my Scum and Villainy over there, and it's that I find the urge to go and then just sit here and fiddle, like just meow. I wouldn't be able to resist bringing something that I can just play with, I guess.
Yeah. So that's
and I think it sells the game itself very short. The fact that I brought it because I want to make spaceship pew pew noises and fly little models around, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, again, I would say it's one of those things as well of if you're limited with the miniatures that you have there, you have all kinds of options in terms of making your own maps and stuff like that. Who's to say you can't like throw a coconut in there and all of a sudden that's a space station or something like that. Yeah.
Carve a trench into it and do a Death Star trench run on the coconut.
Yeah, so there's definitely stuff you can do there. Like, I mean, if you've got 3 to 4 other people on the island as well, everyone will play the game a bit differently as well. So your challenge you have with one person might not be the same as the challenge you have with another person.
So the other reason I picked this is because over lockdown I had a lot of fun playing the single player sort of rules they made for it.
Okay, yeah.
So you can set basically an AI for certain characters, and it sort of decides what they do, much like when you're picking what characters do in Blackstone Fortress. It's kind of got, they will either retreat or they'll do this or they'll do that, whether they'll turn to face or
Am I right in saying that's a fan-made thing as well? There's literally just printable bits of A4.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I think they linked it. I think it was initially made by fans. It was on Reddit.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happy to give you that then, because it's just a folded up bit of paper shoved into the starter box. So
yeah, and that way I could play spaceships by myself.
So this is more the basis of your pick there, something that you can really play by yourself when you just want to get away from everyone else that's on there with you.
Yeah, the hidden aspect underneath this is a fan-made single-player mode, so that I can play spaceships by myself. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And make all the noises.
Brilliant.
If I'm not making the noises, then what's the point? If I can't go pew 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 pew, Luke, you've turned off your targeting computer.
I love the fact that I've given you survivors to set up. How would you bring a board game along that you could integrate with these other people and straight away, yeah, I'll take something that I'll find that I can just play by myself. It's brilliant. Great. Well,
no doubt I would start playing D&D with these people, and someone would play like an unbearable bard, someone would play
a paladin that just can't bear any kind of breaking of rules.
Oh, is Callum with me, is he?
Oh wow, I feel like I've hit a nerve here.
But like you'd get some people, and you just think after that I want to go play by myself. And I thought through and looked at some single player games I really liked, and I just thought, why not take a game that I played single player, that I know is playable single player, that I know I really like and has models and isn't complicated. There was part of me that wanted. I keep bringing up Blackstone Fortress, and that's because it was on my mind. It was something I could play, single player and multiplayer, and has miniatures, and something I like in 40k. And I just sort of thought after a while, I was just like, it's quite big, long, complex, and I almost took it instead of my other option, which we'll hear later. And I didn't in the end, but it's like if I could take 4, it would probably be number 4.
Okay, well, in that case then, before we get on to your third pick, I feel like this actually ties in nicely with your second pick. And I mean, I don't want to throw the term cosplay around, but you are building your own Mandalorian armor, which is very cool.
Outfits for a quite grumpy, unflamboyant man. I do make more outfits than perhaps more grumpy, unflamboyant men of my stature would make.
In fairness, some of them though are more. It's not really a cosplay thing. It's like purpose built. A lot of them, aren't they? Really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've got I do LARPing, things like that. So I have a lot of armor and clothing and period style gear that I would wear LARPing. A lot of it is interchangeable with other sort of fantasy or medieval things, but like it's probably just out of shot. But there's like a spear, some bows over there. Like I think that's one aspect of it, is that I do like when I do roleplay stuff, I do like to do it in person as well. I quite like to head out and LARP at Empire, which is where I predominantly do it. But yeah, I tend to focus on a project when I've got a project going. So yeah, my armor is, or was, my current project, has been for until fairly recently. The idea behind it was to build a suit of armor I could perhaps wear airsofting.
Yeah.
And it has changed into a suit of armor I'm building for display. Much in the way I display my models. I've got a mannequin over there that's half dressed in Mandalorian armor. The sort of the initial plan to take it airsofting was immediately destroyed when I put it all on at one point, and I just thought, I don't. In the same way, I no longer want to run around in chainmail. I no longer want to. I don't want to run around in this. It's become more of a display thing, and it's sat in the corner of my room, and it is what it is. I've got bits left to do, so I think I've got gauntlets left to do. They're lying around here somewhere, but I built guns for it, thinking I'd make it airsofting. So I've got like Star Wars blasters that I've made, and then thought, running around in this is going to be a pain. So I've also built myself like a Scarif style Rogue One Rebel Trooper outfit as I've gone.
Oh wow! Okay, I did not know about this.
Hung up, like, in fact, you can probably see it. It is wrong way.
I think it.
That.
Oh right, it's hanging there.
Yeah, it's on a hanger in a minute.
Yeah.
But it's like the blue vest, and some other bits. But I mean, I've got blasters handy. I can show you blasters if you want to see blasters.
Oh yeah, let's have a look. That'd be cool.
Blaster. There's a blaster here.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame. We had our friend Jay the other day bring out what it originally looked like, and man, you have done a lot to that, and it looks very, very cool. Very, very good, like.
I'm looking forward to using it because it is still a functional airsoft gun.
Yeah.
Like the attempt has been to make, as you said, make stuff functional as well. So there's a Thompson behind me somewhere that's an E22 rifle. So and then there's an M4 on my desk, which is going to be like the classic Rebel Alliance sort of blast you see in like Hoth and Endor. I like having a project, like building stuff.
Yeah.
And if it can fit into some of the other things I like doing, then even better.
Yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned, didn't you, that I know you said you're not interested in doing it anymore, but I think you did mention something about one of the local airsoft places do actually do like a Star Wars Day kind of thing, don't they?
Yeah, it's not super local, it's South Coast. there's a place in Gosport, which is near Portsmouth. It's called South Coast CQB, and on May the 4th they tend to do a Star Wars day, and like it's not like everyone must turn up in Star Wars gear, but like they do like a competition who's wearing the best costume, who's got the best gun, and things like that. So obviously with lockdown that's been weird, and I don't know what the situation is with it, but I would like to, on May the 4th, I'd like to go down there in my full Rebel kit.
Oh, so you do still plan on like?
Oh
giving it a try?
yeah. It's
the Mandalorian armor that's a bit much.
The Mandalorian armor is big. It's heavy. It's cumbersome. I don't think the helmet could take a BB shot to the head.
Oh, okay.
The helmet could. The visor couldn't.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's not built to withstand 400 FPS of blast, which the potential is in an accident in a situation, but my eyes wouldn't be safe if I blew out the lenses of it. So
it would kind of like be the shrapnel from it and stuff, wouldn't it? It just would not be advisable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not built for it. You can get like Mandalorian helmets that are built for it. So if I do change my mind and I fancy dressing in full armor, that is an option. They're expensive, but I guess we'll see. But like at the moment, me and a few others, Darryl included, are excited as dressing up as rebels and running around pretending we're rebels.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I think at this point I'm going to have to press you for your third choice of game that you're going to have on the island.
It's interesting because I've still not decided.
Oh, okay.
It's between two games, and
I think I might know
process.
what two they are as well. I think.
Do you want to take a guess?
I was going to go for either Dwarven Beer Fest or Quacks of Quedlinburg. I think more leaning on Dwarven Beer Fest.
So interestingly, I thought of Dwarven Beer Fest, and I think my mindset was that there's a very potential possibility that I'm stuck on this island with parents with children.
Oh, okay.
And where Dwarven Beer Fest is fun, and I love it, and it's sort of my thing, and you know I'd play it whenever I get the chance, and I'd probably have a pack on me anyway. It's possible it didn't survive the flight because that way I could be playing either Men at Work or Mega City Oceania.
Oh, okay.
And my thought process is that it's completely different. It's a dexterity-based game. There might be people there who like aren't into like the RP stuff, or you know, like hate Star Wars. Like, granted, I'd probably brain that person with a coconut quite early in, but it's just the possibility that I could bring something very different, something that you know the people there might not want to play. It makes me shiver to think about. There are people there that might not want to play Star Wars.
Yeah.
Maybe those people don't deserve to live, and maybe this was God's judgment to strand them on this island. Maybe putting me and them in the same place so I could drown them is just God's will, but that's beside the point. We'll push them off the lifeboat when the lifeboat comes to pick us up, but it's you know, the sort of person that like has the preconceptions of D&D that like they don't want to play it because they think it's dumb, and it's just the thought process behind it is, well, there's lots of ways to play. You don't have to put on a voice, you don't have to get into the brain of a character, you can describe them third person and things like that. You can, you know, there's ways around the parts of D&D that people find cringe, but we've got a very strategic sort of miniatures game. We've got a very mind-based role-playing game, a lot of creativity, and now we've got a more physical game for the people with dexterous fingers. And it does sadden me to not bring Dwarven Beer Fest because I do like it a lot.
Yeah.
And it is the sort of game I would have had on that plane. That this is the mindset is, how many of these games would I have had on the plane with me going on holiday?
Yeah.
Because most likely I would have taken the wife. Or who have I gone on holiday with? This is the thing.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I was curious and I was tempted to aggressively bombard you with requirements for parameters of this holiday, i.e. booking details, times, so that I knew location, so I knew exactly what I would have brought with me, and then I just thought, what would I like to be stuck on a desert island with? The assumption here is that I knew we were going to crash, which is its own scary thing, because it is. Park, I guess, puts the blame on me. Am I at fault for this?
What for? Have you ever seen Final Destination before?
No, but I understand the concept.
Yeah, so they decide not to take the plane or whatever it was, and it crashes, and the idea is death is stalking them then, because they chose not to go when they felt like something might happen and they were supposed to die on there. So I suppose it's almost like a Final Destination kind of scenario that you've set yourself up in there.
So am I going to die?
No. You're going to survive, but I suppose the people that you, like these people that you were saying you may be going on holiday with, they aren't on the island, so...
Sure.
It's 3 to 4 strangers, that's the thing.
Yeah, so who was I on the plane with? Who has died that I know?
This is up to you. Who do you feel like you would have? Daryl, okay. he's chanced it again, not realised that crashing whilst flying or sailing over this particular part of the world is a bad idea. He's just decided to jump right in. Yeah, you know what? That's just like Daryl. So, yeah, good call. Good call. Yeah,
Daryl's dead. Super. Right, so if I was going on holiday with Daryl, then it makes sense that I would have brought these games anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So that's fine. Because I definitely wouldn't bring them if I was going on holiday with the wife.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we can say as well is this backpack is waterproof. It's like these things are going to survive their way onto the island, whereas Dwarf Beer Fest, I feel, might have been something you had in your pocket, and so it's just water damaged. It's unusable, I suppose, is how we can.
In which case, it would probably be a dexterity game of some sort, and I'm struggling to split Mega City Oceania and Men at Work. It'd probably be Men at Work.
I was going to say, I think I have to push you for an answer between the two, I think. I mean, the good thing about Men at Work is, unlike all the other games that you've brought along, it's very light on rules, I would say. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. There's going to be people there that perhaps don't like board games, or perhaps don't like fun. Perhaps they're really stuck up. The best thing about this is that I'm quite good at Men at Work.
I mean, you're good at Mega City Oceania as well. I don't think you've been beaten at either.
The thing is, we've only played Mega City twice, whereas every time we played Men at Work, I think I've never made a mistake at Men at Work.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That was, and I would like to play Men at Work with these. Do you know what's great about Men at Work as well? And it's something that I considered and I thought, okay, I'll bear that in mind. But like, there's going to be crap on this island that we can add into the mix.
Right, yeah.
To freshen up Men at Work. Like, we can start playing Men at Work on, like, I don't know, the scraps of Daryl's carcass or bits of plane wreckage, and like it gives us extra things to balance stuff on.
Oh, brilliant.
For once, Daryl can be useful.
Oh, I can't wait for him to see this back. We'll just get a message at some point. Brilliant. I was going to say, because Daryl, I think, I will say right now, just to bring a little context of how Daryl's went. Daryl did turn to cannibalism at one point, and he actually said to us when we said we were going to be recording this, I think one of the questions he asked was, how long will this one take before it turns to cannibalism? And you've stayed away from it.
Well, I think he sent me a text making the assumption that I would turn to cannibalism.
Yeah.
But you've given me plenty of fruit. Yep. You've told me there's beef and potatoes. I don't need to.
Yeah. Whereas Daryl chose to. It wasn't like a desperation thing.
Cannibalism comments are based around my opinions of Brexit.
And no Brexit here.
The crash of the economy would cause us to have to eat the elderly to survive. I mean, there's not that many people here. I'm assuming I've taken control as a pseudo-dictator.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm forcing these people to play board games with me. I don't think I need to eat anyone.
Yeah.
Not unless I want to enact it as a punishment.
Yeah.
And honestly, the sort of people that irritate me, I think I'd find them distasteful, and I wouldn't want to eat them.
It's like that whole thing of they used to say with like ancient tribes that would eat the brains of their enemy because they felt like they were taking the knowledge in. These people have nothing to offer you.
No, the sort of person that doesn't want to play X-Wing is the sort of person I would drown and let rot.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Perhaps if someone beats me at X-Wing, I can eat their brain and gain their knowledge.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's.
But I feel like that's poor sportsmanship, and maybe I should be a better loser.
Okay, that's fair enough. So no cannibalization on this island then.
Not unless I need to. Not unless like all the fruit and the cows that apparently we have,
Yeah.
all the potatoes, all the food's gone. Then I don't need to eat anyone.
Yeah.
And there's no like big imposing economical, financial situation that's causing me to want to eat the elderly to make a political point.
Yeah. So essentially, this is just saying Daryl just has the urge to eat a person, I suppose.
I think Daryl's just looking for the excuse. Oh, I didn't see all that fruit.
Ah, brilliant. Anyway, those are your 3 games. Like, genuinely, a really good selection there. You've got something that is generally based around storytelling and things like that. A game, like, based on using your own imagination and stuff. You've got something, like you say, that is kind of toys in a box, but at least offers you, like, that strategic kind of experience, I suppose. If you're into, like, tactical warfare and stuff like that, you know, it does still offer, like, a good amount of game there. Admittedly, it's like a dogfighting game rather than a war game, but it still will satisfy that urge. And then you've got something that is just simple to play, easy to set up, really easy to teach people, and is just a real good time. So, yeah, 3 very good choices.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's definitely games in my head that I know I like more. I think it's the level of appropriateness for playing with strangers on a desert island that makes this different.
Yeah, so there we are. That's kind of like what I want you guys to think about, and you've done that really well here. Yeah, it's not necessarily your 3 favourite games. It's the games you'd want on an island to play with people, I suppose. Like, you wouldn't want to take something like, say, Fog of Love. That would be one of the last games that I would want to bring onto this desert island to play with complete strangers. I feel like that would just be awkward and wouldn't.
Are there any tropical birds on this island?
I imagine so, yeah.
So you could probably make real life Wingspan if you really wanted to play that.
Yeah, I suppose so. Could give it a go. But anyway, we digress. Thank you very much for joining me on this one, Iain. Your Twitter handle has been on screen. Is there anything else you want to...
If you search for my Twitter handle, you would have used it one more time than I have.
But it's on there anyway. We do it for all our guests. Is there anything else you'd like to plug, and where can we find you?
I'm usually found to the left, right, or underneath Steve. Everybody Dice podcast. That's where I stay. Steve closes the box when the podcast is done, and I remain there until he needs me next for a podcast.
Yeah, that's every other week on the Everybody Dice YouTube channel. So yeah, thank you as well for watching this video. By all means, please give it a like, share, and subscribe. And just check out some of our other videos, which are probably on screen right about now. Either way, we're waiting to be rescued now. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you on the next island, I suppose. Well, it's the same island, but another episode. Until then,
is my corpse going to be there, or
I think you're going to be picked up at some point. We'll find out on the next podcast. But anyway, see you next time. Bye.